We actually pay you. We pay, oh, I got your attention now, huh? Okay, you see, we are one of the museums across the country that believes in paying our interns, our high school interns and our college interns. So what we want to do is encourage you as you move through the book club experience. We want to encourage you to apply for the Explorers program, of which we have approximately 50 students. And we keep those 50 students each year. So when they become seniors, then they graduate, then they go to Rutgers and other universities. But we have you go through curatorial department, marketing, business, exhibitions, the back offices of how a museum is run. So you become part of our family for 3 years. Everybody interested? Okay, okay. And so I really want to thank you for being here. Your energy is what makes this museum work, and you are the future of our leadership in not only with the arts and culture, but in the city of Newark. So welcome, have a good time, and thanks for making us look good. We love that.
We thank you so much, Director Linda Harrison. Let's give it a warm round of applause for allowing us to be in her house. We thank you so much for the Newark Museum for saying yes, 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 and yes. This is a wonderful partnership, and we're very excited to be here. My name is Dr. Sharnae Brown. I'm the Chief Education Officer for the City of Newark, and I'm excited to represent the Office of Comprehensive Community Education, and we are sponsoring this event. Yay! And our young people have been working really hard. They're in testing season. They're doing a lot. They just came back from spring break. And so I just want to say thank you before we even get started to all the young people, distinguished young people that's on the panelists. Can we give them a round of applause? And I just want to be very brief because we're a little behind on time. I just want to really give a shout out to some very important partners that make all of this happen. They are a coalition of companies within Newark that say literacy matters. And so I want to celebrate Newark Reads, and we also have some Newark Reads partners in here. So I just want to shout out their names. I want to shout out Panasonic. Let's give it up for Panasonic. Audible, let's give it up for Audible. Newark Public Schools, let's give it up for Newark Public Schools. Newark Public Library, United Way. I'm just so excited, and we do actually have Justin from United Way. Hi, Justin. Thank you for coming and thinking it not robbery to be a part of this wonderful coalition. And I also want to take the time before I thank the others to thank my audience. We can't do anything if you're not interested in hearing it. So thank you so much. And all the wonderful teachers that work hard behind the scene. I am a teacher by trade, so I want to give a shout out to my teachers. You keep doing the work that you're doing. It's tough out there because life is tough right now, and you get armed every day with a book and a pen and a piece of paper, and you make the world happen. Thank you, teachers. So I just want to give a shout out to them. Last and final, we have some people that's always working behind the scenes. We did something different this year. Instead of having one culminating event like today, we did school tours. And there were 3 women that were behind the scenes every time. And we look great out there, and it has a lot to do with these 3 wonderful women. I want to take the time to thank Dr. Courtney Johnson. Let's give it up for Dr. Courtney Johnson. Jennifer Beaucree. Let's give it up for... And I make the analogy that I have a right arm and I have a left arm. My left arm belongs to me, but my right arm belongs to Aaliyah Kearney. Let's give it up for... So I want to also thank 78. Thank you, Gary and Mira. So thank you guys so much. And we have a distinguished panel, so I'm going to move very quickly. I just want to start by saying today we are studying the wonderful book by Isabel Wilkerson, The Warmth of Other Suns. Let's give it up for this wonderful book. This book is awesome because it documents the great untold story of the Great Migration. We all have had a history behind how African Americans got to this soil. But the Great Migration is about agency. It's about living under the trauma of the South and deciding that I want something new for my family. When we talk about immigration, we normally celebrate those people who come from different countries. But we want to tell the story of African Americans who dared yet again to be on yet another journey to forge a new existence for all the youngsters that will come before. And so they ventured into a world that was unknown in a country that had been traumatizing, to say, I'm going to have the courage to move again with my own volition so my ancestors, who I don't know, can have a life different from the trauma that I lived. So I want to take a moment and celebrate the ancestors who decide to take that journey. Can we just have a moment of silence for them? And we're going to end that by saying Ashe. Ashe, don't be afraid, Ashe. All right, so we celebrate our ancestors. We're about to bring on a very distinguished guest. We are celebrating all Newark schools. So we have here today Arts High, Weekway, Shabazz, Central, Newark Vocational Technology University, Marion P. Thomas, Bard, Behringer, American History. Did I name everyone? West Side. I worked at West Side. I was a rough Irish. West Side. So let's give it up for our wonderful schools. But I'm also going to invite yet another school. I'm going to invite Donald Morris to the mic as he introduced the Newark Boys Chorus. Let's give it up for them.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having us here to support the Mayor's Book Club program. It's wonderful for us to be a part of this program. And as you mentioned about the migration from the south up north, I want to think we're going to perform for you two songs. The first one is an African-American spiritual that says, "Sit Down, Servant." It's about two protagonists, a servant and God. Who's going to play the part of the servant? David, and Tahir here is going to be God. You know, the slaves, the African Americans who were here, they were sort of restless, and God says, "Sit down, servant." And the servant said, "I can't sit down. My soul's so happy, I can't sit down." But the servant reminds God, "You promised me a couple of things, and you haven't delivered." And then God says, "Go, angel, go and provide them with what they want. And now that you get everything that you want, sit down." So it's a kind of fun song, as you'll hear. The second song is about dreams. And it's a poem by Langston Hughes, "I Dream a World." And it talks about aspirations and dreams for all of us. So again, thank you, and do enjoy.
Whatever race you be.
We thank you so much. That was so beautiful. We thank you, thank you, thank you. I also see Matt from Audible. Just want to give a shout out to one of our other partners. Hi, Matt. And now we are going to have our book study by none other than the mayor of this great city. Let's give it up for Mayor Raz J. Baraka and the students of Newark.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure. Let me move up. I don't know. They always like, make it theater. We got to, kind of. I'm happy to be here. As usual, it makes my day to have these discussions with you guys around these books. These are very intense and complicated subject that we've been studying over the course of a month or so. Some of you, I remember your faces. Others are new. I'm glad that you are reading this and that the school system is allowing you to do that, and prayerfully your teachers and everybody else is helping you read it as well. And I hope you read it too, right? And just a little secret, I have the audio book from Audible. I have one, so it taught me how to listen to books. So I've been listening to The Warmth of Other Suns. I downloaded it on my Audible thing, and I'm listening to it while I'm working out. So it's a good, it's good to do. Maybe you should try it. It may help you get through some of the stuff, the material. I met a girl at Eastside who read the whole thing. I don't know if she's here. She's here? She's here? Okay. You read the whole book. That's like, I didn't read the whole book yet. Almost, but not the whole thing. So she's ahead of me. So good stuff. How many people read the whole book? See that? Good stuff, man. I appreciate it. Did you get a chance to see the stuff by Issa Butler? Good. Let's start there. Let's start there. Issa Butler. Let's start there. What did you think about her art by itself? Anybody want to talk about what initial feelings, the sentiments they got from her?
Hi, my name is Joy Ogumleto, and I'm representing Newark Vocational High School. And when I saw the art piece, I thought it was amazing. And when I read the short story about it on the other side, I saw that most of the fabric came from different countries in West Africa and some from South Africa. And I enjoyed the fact that there was so much details on the art piece that, tells different stories about each one of them. And on those details, there are like birds, pony, different things that kind of that connects back to the story from the book. So I enjoyed looking at the pictures. I feel like there's more to it, and there's more story behind every little thing she had on the art piece, and it was amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jump right in. Jump right in. Jump right in.
Good morning. My name is Laura Wee, and I'm a student at Bard High School, Early College. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to be here today. And from the photo, I looked more towards the meaning, and I was able to observe a lot of faces. Reading through the faces, I saw a face of like uncertainty, like hopeful at the child. Looking towards the child's face, and kind of a little bit about distress. Another thing I noticed about the photo was like in the clothing, they carried like different unique patterns with full of colors, and like each has like a story. I'm sure like each color has a symbolic meaning. And looking closely at the patterns, I saw like a picture of like the caged bird, and one especially towards the left, my left, or my right, it has like a picture of a caged bird, and the cage was actually open, so with the bird flying away. So that was interesting to see, and yes, thank you.
It's okay for one more to speak?
I didn't hear what you say.
It's okay for one more to speak? I like how the detail of the picture shows each generation and their feeling towards the art piece. For example, as the previous person said about the uncertainty, I think that that's what the second generation is feeling. And the first generation was further on my right, and the last generation, the one that's freshly into this new land that they're going to, were the children. And the tour guide and I had a conversation on how the children are now the new leaders of the family because they're going to learn so much more than the grandparents or their parents. So it shows how each family member has their input into trying to survive a new place that they've never been before.
I've seen a question over here. A comment over here? No, nobody? Okay. Go ahead. Slide that mic back down.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jennifer, and I'm from Weekway High School. I just wanted to talk about the fabric. I'm from Africa, so I can relate to some of the fabric. I've seen some of them before, and it's like seeing it in the picture is like something new, and I felt like represented. And if you look at what they were bringing, it's like they were only bringing what they needed. They were not bringing the chairs or a lot of stuff. But they were just bringing what they need because they were going to, a new place, and they wanted to build something for themselves while going there. So
right. So let me fold this into the book. Just want to. How does what we just saw and discussed here relate directly to the theme of what's going on in this book? The warmth of other suns.
Hello, my name is Sekna, and I'm from Science Park High School. And I think that in the artwork, as previous students said before, there's many feelings of uncertainty. You can see the girls are also feeling hopeful and stuff. And I feel like in the book, this was communicated through as well as in the beginning of the book when they were speaking about how many black people in the South felt great uncertainty about moving to the North, and that's why not so many a lot of people actually stayed in the South, but those who went to the North went with hope that they're gonna have a new life, a new chance at life, a better life basically. And so I feel like these feelings are also communicated through this, because although one may be feeling scared when facing a challenge, you're still hopeful and hoping that the results of that will shine through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tabby Ann from Central, and to piggyback off of what the previous person said, that was shown in the book in a particular situation with George. I forgot his last name, but when he came back from New York, and he was basically telling the older generation of pickers that this isn't how you're supposed to be treated. They didn't want to, listen to him or believe him, because this is how we're supposed to treat these white people, and they were the same way with migration. Even his father didn't understand why he wanted to go north to be educated when he could just stay here in the South, work his way up as a sharecropper, and eventually own his own farm. So that's one way the image relates to the book.
I want you to save that for me. I want to talk about that when we end. So remember that the part his father wanted him, he thought it just made sense to stay there and maybe one day own his own farm, right? That's a good jumping off point for us to end this thing. Go ahead. No? You just holding it. I'm always looking at you because you got that mic in your hand. You better give it to somebody else. Yes, you got a statement down here.
Hi, my name is Amaya Lewis from West Side, and I just think that the picture symbolizes a lot of the stuff that happens in the story, as well as other stories during the Great Migration. all of the women have a similar standard of clothing. Like they have a shirt, they have a skirt, and they have like a hat. And I feel that that symbolizes the basic storyline of the Great Migration, but the small details represent their personal details in their life and the hardships that they each experienced.
Right. Good. So let us move to the actual Great Migration itself. And I've asked this to many different groups. Have you heard of the Great Migration before you've read this book? How many people have heard of the Great Migration before? Who did not hear of it before? And it's okay to have not heard of it. Okay. And did you learn, those who have, did you learn something new about the experience than you did prior to reading this book? What are some of those things that you've learned in this book now that you didn't know before?
So I've heard of the Great Migration before, like during class and stuff, but I feel like in many like schools and like many like curriculums, it's not like a lot of the truth and like a lot of like the details behind it are not like fully communicated to students. And so although like I had like background information about it, through the book I learned that even when like migrants moved to the north, there were still problems with racism and discrimination and segregation. Although these things have been like outlawed with like the civil war and things, and like during the Reconstruction period, this was still problems in the north that they faced also in the south. So like these problems such as like racism, and like in the book they were talking about how like many black people weren't able to get like loans in order to like buy houses, so they couldn't get like that type of generational wealth. And so through that, like I learned something new, that like even though they moved to the north for like a better chance at life, they still had like the same like similar problems as they had in the south.
Anybody else? What did you learn?
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't introduce myself for the first time. Deirdre Corbin from University High School. And I already knew about the Great Migration, but what I didn't know was the conflict within our own community that impacted. Because some people sided with Booker T of staying in the South, rebuilding it in the South, and actually getting better within the South, while others went with W.E.B. Du Bois, where it says, let's move to the North, let's rebuild, let's get an education. So that kind of creates a conflict of where should we go? And I learned that vaguely, thinking that every black person moved up north, because I see my grandmother move to the north. I seen people in history move to the north. So we wasn't, like what the previous person, we wasn't really taught enough about the Great Migration to know what really happened. And I'm glad that the book actually opens up and tells what really happened with people's real life experiences.
Right. Well, that's beautiful. It's great to read and understand history from the point of view of people who lived it, right? That's what makes the book more interesting. You think so? Because these people actually lived the experience. Most of the time, we learn about things based on people who wrote about it, right? Or we learn it from the perspective of those that are in charge. Like we learn history based on presidents and wars and kings and rulers, not necessarily peasants and farmers and migrants and traders and all of these other folks that live these experiences, which makes this book not only much more enriching, but a lot more interesting, you think? Yeah. So anybody else want to jump in on that?
Hi, my name is Selena Thompson from Berridge High School, and I was going to add something similar to what you said, but I feel like hearing it from other people's point of view, it adds like more of a realness, and like you maybe not have noticed before, but like these were like actual issues that people face, instead of like hearing it out of a textbook saying like this is the major things. She went into more detail into the book and like put more work in it by interviewing not just like 3 people, but like everyone's story as a whole, all the hundreds and thousands of people that she interviewed. I feel like she just put more of a touch to it when she made it like people's personal problems, and like everyone was able to like, express themselves in a different way through the book.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hello. My name is Adore Mitchell Williams, and I go to university. So I would just like to say that the fact that she's a black woman and she wrote this book with other black people, it speaks very like highly, because a lot of our history is told from people that's not like us. So I feel like she had a different type of care when she was writing their story. She wasn't just writing it for herself. Like she was learning while she was writing, and I think that's amazing. Like it's not just a project to her, it's history, and she wanted to get it right, even though she didn't have a lot of information. So I like that it was real for her. It wasn't like something that she was just like, let's just get it done. It was like history that she wanted other African Americans to understand. And I really like that about the book.
So let's get a little bit deeper here. What were the economic and political and social reasons why people left the South like that? What were the economic, escaping, let's talk about that a little bit, and then we get into what Jim Crow is. So what are the economic, and political and social issues that forced people out of the South? Because they didn't just get up and just say, I'm going to New York, right?
Okay, hi, my name is Janasia, and I'm from Marion P. And I feel as though some of the social reasons why people left the South was because of all the racism they were facing, the Jim Crow laws, the KKK. I think she stated, in the book, that at one point in time, every day there were at least 4 black people getting lynched in the South. Every 4 days, one person got lynched. But, and also there were economic problems in the North with World War I, and how the European immigrants, they stopped coming, and so they didn't have any more cheap labor, so they started recruiting people from the South. And so I feel as though the black people in the South, they thought of that as an opportunity to, get away from all the racism in the South while still earning money in the North.
Right. And that's an insightful point, that immigrants stopped coming from Europe because of the war, right? And they needed labor. That's clear. People came to Newark, right? Yeah, they came here. So let me, you next. Go.
All right, I'm Kevin Abogo from Technology High School, and another reason they went to the North was because of sharecropping. It was basically another form of slavery. It just kept people in debt. So they were not getting ahead. They were trying to make, after being freed from slavery, they're trying to make a profit, get land, build houses. Right. But it was like a trickery system where they would instead go into more debt the more they work, which was kind of crazy. So they were like, we can't take this anymore. We're going to the North, find a better opportunity, something that can actually help us, So,
yeah. That's a very insightful point. Go ahead.
And also to say that, they wanted to keep them there because they didn't pay them a lot. It was very low pay when it came to being I don't want to say a sharecropper, but I forgot what one of the people were, but they were oh, I'm right? Sharecropping? Okay, I'm right. Sharecropper, even they had to pick this amount of cotton or vegetable. They had to pick that amount, and if that amount wasn't enough, they wouldn't get paid. But if they even got paid, it wasn't enough for them to leave the South. So I think that's just very sad. It was either I leave and go to the North, or I stay here. So it was just I really felt like they just made the decision for themselves to leave because they just couldn't take it anymore.
Okay, I just want to piggyback off of what everybody says. Oh wait, my name is Gracie, and I go to Marion P. And I just wanted to say that African Americans, they left the South because white people, they found ways, and they made rules to try to minimize the rights of African Americans, because Reconstruction, they created the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. And the KKK and the racist Southerners, they found ways to
minimize these rights by black codes, segregation, and all these stuff. And black people couldn't exercise their rights, and they couldn't do their daily activities without fear, without being scared of being lynched, without, they couldn't do their, like, how, they couldn't,
Take your time.
they couldn't, do their daily activities, so they had to leave their families, leave everything, and go to the north and try to find a better life.
Okay. I also wanted to add something about what she said. It's like, I think it was with George, when he was trying to like help the people who were working in the farm know how much they were getting paid, or like, tell them that they're supposed to get paid more than what they were getting paid because of the work they were doing. The white people didn't like that after they found out, so they wanted to like kill him or like lynch him because he was making a difference. So it's like, also Roberts, when he wanted to move to the north so he could have a better opportunity with his work, since he wanted to be a surgeon, he didn't have a lot of opportunity in the south because he was black, and they didn't give him like, why? Because he said he knew he was smart. He knew he could do the same as what the white people were doing. But because the whole system was against him like going up or succeeding, so they like made him go down. They didn't give him what he was supposed to do. Right. So that's why he wanted to move. Most of them wanted to move to go to the north, so they will have like more opportunity to like, get themselves in a better place.
Yes, sir?
I would like to add on to this point. Mercy, that's right? Yeah, Mercy, when she mentioned the other systems that white people in the South made, the court case, Plessy versus Ferguson, that basically made segregation legal, because at first it was just a violation of the Reconstruction Amendments, like white and black people are now supposed to be equal, but with the South, the caste system is wrong, black people weren't equal in any way. So when the court case was brought to the government, they said segregation was legal as long as it was oppressing both sides, but who would really oppress black people. Right. Because, for example, like a train car, there had to be white train cars and black train cars, so that's where the separation came from, and yeah.
Yeah, that's how many people ever heard of that case before, the Supreme Court case, very important Supreme Court case, 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important case, yes.
Hello, my name is Sydney, and I'm from Bard High School Early College, and I wanted to add to the economic problems that exist in the South. In the early parts of the book, we saw that the children had the time when they went to school was when they stopped picking cotton, and when they went back to school was when the cotton was already there for them to be harvested. This makes the parents have needed to have the courage to move for the descendants. They didn't want the children to continue being in this situation, in this kind of captivating and slavery for a long particular time. So this gave them courage to move on, not just for themselves, but also for the descendants.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to say something like short and simple. Like, I find it kind of weird or maybe interesting that other black people and other black leaders, so like they wanted African Americans to stay in the South and not migrate to the North, and to endure the people like Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass. They didn't support migration and abandonment. They wanted them to stay in the South, knowing that all the KKK and all the violence, knowing that they still wanted their people to stay in the South. And I just find it like, kind of...
Yeah, let's skip it. I was going to say that, but since y'all keep talking about it, let's stay there. Let's stay there. Go ahead.
I wanted to add on to all the people that mentioned sharecropping. I remember a phrase in the early parts, like 35 to 45, in the book. It was broke even. People were always mentioning that George's grandfather, he like suffered because of it. He didn't support his children. That was a big struggle that I had in the beginning.
So in the middle of all of this stuff that's going on in the South with Jim Crow and the migration happening, you're talking about millions of people leaving the South. So this has a major impact on this country. And we're gonna get into that. Millions of people, just imagine millions of people leaving New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and just heading on down to Alabama, Mississippi, in the course of a couple of years, right? So it had a major impact. And so this was probably the talk of what was going on at the time, meaning everybody was talking about it in the beauty parlor, the barber shop, in the bedroom, in the living room, in the backyard. The kids were talking about it, playing their games because their cousin was here, the next month he's gone, or their auntie was here, auntie took the kids and woke up in the morning, they disappeared. All of that was a discussion in the hood. They was talking about everybody getting out of here, right? And so obviously the leadership of the community had to have a discussion about it, a debate about this. And W.E.B. Du Bois, who I admire a great deal, Booker T. Washington, who was a leader and very important scholar at the time, Frederick Douglass, all of these abolitionists having this discourse about should we stay here or should we leave, right? Let's get into that a little bit. Your feelings about it, who you side with, if you side with anybody. Guess what? You don't have to side with nobody, right? So just let's talk about that for a second. I want to hear you for a minute. Go ahead. You start us off. Yeah, you off there.
Hello.
There you go, Skyla. There you go.
Hi, my name is Skyla. I'm from Eastside High School, and basically, for the Great Migration, I do side with the people who wanted to leave because it takes a lot of guts, heart, and sacrifice to leave everything that you've known, especially since many years of African Americans in the South, they lost all their culture from Africa, and all they knew was to be slaves, to follow what the white people order, and all they knew was to be African American. They created their own culture, like cookouts, potlucks, like jazz music, all that good stuff down in the South. That's all they knew. And then for them to be treated horribly by white people in the system that's supposed to protect them, they were tired. And it takes a lot of guts to leave everything that you've known. So I do side with that because not only am I American, my parents are from West Coast Africa, Cape Verde, and I'm first generation American, and I've seen them struggle leaving everything that they've known. I'm thankful for what they've done, but it shows an effect towards them because you can see them slowly losing their culture sometimes, because sometimes my parents, they'll forget certain words, or children nowadays, they'll forget recipes from their home countries. So it does take a lot of hard work and sacrifice, because in the long run, you're gonna reap the benefits from moving. So instead of staying and struggling, you move. You do struggle while moving and living in the North, but at least you get to live a better life than what your ancestors lived before and what you could have lived staying in the South or back in home countries where they didn't pay you well enough.
Okay, anybody else want to speak to that? Yes, ma'am. We're going to start this way and go all the way around like this. Start with you, and then we're going to go all the way around.
Hi, my name is Joy once again from Newark Vocational High School, and I would like to say that I side with the people that decided to, leave the South, because that's a huge step towards success. So there's also a page in, I think, 145, that it was a short story about a guy that survived World War I and decided to come back home to the South and celebrate with his family, and it was met with a bunch of white mobs that was like, oh, you need to strip off your military uniform, and it decided not to, and then 3 days after, it was killed. And there was this short statement that said, if this is not enough for you to move away from the South, then I don't know what is. So I believe that those people moving away from the South, it takes, just like she mentioned, it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of, like, mentally, it's not easy to move away from one country to another, and I could relate to that since my family and I moved away from the country we're from just for us to come here for a better life and education and, workforces. So I would say I side with them because they're taking a huge step towards success. And for those people who decided to stay, I kind of understand the perspective they're coming from because it's not easy to move away from, something you were born into stuff like that. Like they were born into this oppression and they were, made to have this idea that they were meant to go through this, that this is part of their lifestyle and all that. So having to move away from that type of thinking is kind of hard. And those who, realize that quickly and take a huge steps towards success can be an example for the rest of the people to make changes to their life and, go.
So let me push you a little bit.
Success.
I just want to push you a little bit. I don't think Booker T and Frederick Douglass meant for people to be abused in the South. So I don't think that the people who wanted to stay thought that they should live in the condition that they were living in the South. I don't think because they chose to stay that they accepted segregation and Jim Crow, right? So what in their mind they thought that they could actually do, and she alluded to it, could do in the South in those conditions.
Yeah, some of them actually believe that, things might end up changing for the better for them. Like they could change the system and make it better and be a better place for people to stay in rather than moving away from there.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
That don't mean you have to agree with it, but that's what they were saying. Want to move around? Let's move around.
My name is Victoria Alidunlade, and I'm a representative from Newark Vocational High School. So provided by the book and what each and everybody has said, I just want to say that I don't side with anyone moving and anyone staying, actually, because I don't have a place to stay. So I'm just saying it's based on choice and preference. Many of them, I wouldn't say that every single black person experienced what so many other people did experience. Not every single one of them experienced it. So many of them felt they could actually stay, and some of them felt they could actually go. But one thing I just wanted to add was that to every choice they made, there was a sacrifice to pay.
Right.
And so many of them were willing to pay the sacrifice. If it meant to stay, they would stay. And if it meant that they had to go, they were willing to go. So they were willing to pay the sacrifice. So it was basically like wherever they were, whenever they are at the place they were living history and a living testimony to whatever they witnessed and to whatever other people witnessed. So they were willing to either stay or go, provided that they are making an impact in one way or the other.
Right.
Hello, my name is Mary Sheena. I'm from Weekway High School. So I side with anybody who decides to leave because they had an amount of racism and injustice they were facing. So I believe that they wanted to find better chances for their lives and find a place where they could be feeling safe for them and their family, a better chance where they could have opportunities and follow their dreams and whatever they wanted to do. I also believe that they are trying to get away from any hurtfulness or any reasons for people that are trying to arrest them or beat them to death just because of their skin color.
I agree with what she said because it's like it was a system that was made up against black people. It's like even if you try to level up or be better, it's like you are being put down no matter where you go. So it's either if you stay or go, you're still going to experience, even if it's a little better, you are still experiencing it. Like, you know what George experienced when he was, what Robert experienced when he was looking for a hotel to stay in. It's like, even though it's not a Jim Crow law, it's still the same because the person that's letting you in the hotel doesn't like black people. Or let's say, or you're not experiencing it by a lot of people, but one person might be racist and not let you in because of how you look like. And I think it was Robert's story, where it was a story about this family that had a grandpa and a grandma and the other kids, and one of them was brown skin and he had dark color, and all of them could look white. They could go in and act white and be like, we're white, we want to get a room, and they could stay. But the boy that was 10 years old was black. He looked black. You can see he's black. So they had to hide him, put him in the blanket in order for them to get a room to rest, because they've been driving the whole day. So they needed a place to stay. So it's like the system is made up against you. So it's like you have to fight not only the people or the social, it's like everyone. You are fighting against everyone. So
let's go a little deeper. We're still moving. We're still moving around. Like just to take it a little deeper than that, so there was a part of the story where the gentleman wanted to go to college very bad. We know that part. He wanted to further his education, right? And it was a conflict in his family and the community about him wanting to further his education. So this is the same kind of concept. So I just want us to really like internalize this concept. Like he wanted to further his education, but the family was saying, why do that, right? Because furthering the education costs what? Money. You got to spend resources to go to school, and if you get all this education, it's not even guaranteed that you will do what? Work. So it's a conflict there. It's a conflict. So I want us to feel this conflict, because the conflict is alive still today. You know this conflict is still alive. And you know this conflict is alive in our families, right? It's still alive. It's a live conflict that's still happening. Go to work, go to school, go to work, go to school. It's still alive, right? So that conflict is the same conflict that's in the leaving and staying. In the leaving and the staying. Go ahead.
My name is Brian Januario from Eastside High School. And I just wanted to continue the discussion about which side. So obviously I would side with the people that chose to leave. And that's because Wilkerson herself said that the migration was a leaderless movement. And that basically meant that the people that contributed, they didn't really get any reputation, not even from themselves. Like they didn't even realize the grand scheme of things of how much they contributed to everything that's going on in this country. And it's this like idea of inferiority that they feel created by things like the caste system that brings them down. And I had like a eureka moment yesterday. If you guys could just bear with me as I read this.
Go ahead.
The courage to move somewhere new or try something different comes from seeing the warmth of other suns. There's a sun in all of us that strives to brighten up the dark path doing something new creates. It's by looking at the warmth of other people's suns and what they've accomplished that gives us the comfort needed to the sun we all have to make the future a little brighter. The caste system everyone in this book is trying to escape hides the sun that lies within everyone. The idea of being inferior keeps the future dark and gloomy. The caste system is a convenience that limits other suns for the sake of keeping everything orderly. It goes back to why people move, to escape expectations. That is something anyone from any race or class can relate to.
Very good. Very good. Very good. One pass, we going this way. Anybody else? Just feeding it. Go ahead. You want to speak? Go ahead. Go. Talk.
Hi. I wanted to say that I agree with people that left, but I also agree with the people that stayed, because even though, yeah, it was said that life was going to be better in the North, it wasn't guaranteed. Like, nothing was set in stone that you were going to get a job, you were going to get this. This was, like, going to happen regardless. Everyone had their own hardships, and even if you stayed, maybe you thought that you could still change it. Like, yeah, there's still oppression, but there's oppression everywhere. So I felt like you shouldn't just say, the North is like peaches and cream, because it's really not. It's like everywhere has their own struggles. But I feel like the people that stayed were not dumb. Just because they stayed, I feel like they stayed for a reason, and they probably helped the new generation when they're going to come.
Yeah.
My name is Rahmatullah Jallo. I'm from Barringer High School. To add on to what she said, I feel like I agree with both sides, and I feel like the people that stayed, like, if it wasn't for them, like, one side of the country would be diverse and the other one would just be like white people, racist. So I feel like it's really important that some of them stayed and agreed like to help and change. And I'm really thankful that they had the hope to stay, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Wow.
I feel like I agree with both of them. Like, I can't really choose, but I wouldn't even be here if my ancestors would have migrated. So, at the end of the day, like, after slavery, it was horrible. You know, businesses, you know, people were getting killed left and right. Buildings were getting knocked down left and right. So it leads to the idea of people in the South thinking, realistically, what can we do? Because they felt like the North, like what the previous person said, is not really peaches and cream. They knew that. So they felt like, I might as well stay here because we get to build up the South and have the opportunity to actually build our own businesses versus the North, although like it isn't easy, but it gives off a little slide where you don't really have that strong feeling of doing, like building their own things. So I'm not really on which side. However, I feel like what Booker T. Washington was trying to say is, let's build up the South now that we have a chance to, because before we didn't. So I think it's like I'm right in the middle, you know?
Yeah, it's okay to be in the middle of that. It's all right.
My name is Alani. I go to University High School. And I want to speak on Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois and like who I side with, so yeah. Me personally, I side with W.E.B. Du Bois because I felt like he was all about growth for the Black community. And with Booker T. Washington, I felt like his main goal was about money, just to build people up with money. You get what I'm saying? And that's right. I want to relate to George's family, which I feel like his father agreed with Booker T. Washington. I feel like he had that mindset because he didn't want him to improve himself by going to college. He didn't support that. He wanted him just to work and just make money, but you can't even live off those wages. So yeah, I'm done.
He thought it was more practical.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Mayor, that when you think about your dreams from a young kid to now, did any of your dreams not come true due to personal issues?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of things that unfortunately in America and in the educational system, your question marks become periods.
Ooh,
so
I like that. Sorry.
The older you get, you know, the more people convince you that the most incredible things that you should accomplish can't be done. And that's why it's important to keep your imagination. You know, it's important to have goals, but you need to have an imagination. One thing slavery and Jim Crow did to our folks was kill their imagination. And the reason they left to go to the North is because they had a big imagination. The imagination is what fueled them to get to the North, the radical imagination that, wow, something is out there. I don't know what it is, but it's something. And so, yeah, I mean, the more you work and take care of your family and deal with the practical stuff, you leave your imagination behind.
And also, by you saying that other point, that made me think of Pershing, because he had a mindset that he was gonna become what he wanted to become, and that never stopped him.
That's right.
He did what he needed to do. He just kept getting the knowledge, and he just kept going forward because he tasted it before, and he just couldn't let it go. He had to grab it. So I like that point.
Yeah.
This is reminding him.
Yeah, and so just on, I don't want to, like, I'm not defending his father, but I'm just, you know, but can you, I just want you to look from his viewpoint. Like, he think it's a ridiculous thing.
It is because it was never done before.
Yeah, because it wasn't done. He just think it's a ridiculous notion, and that he was being irresponsible, even. that he was being irresponsible. He thought that his son dreaming about being a doctor was irresponsible. Could you imagine that? That he thought it was irresponsible. Why do you think he thought it was irresponsible?
Because of what they dealt with as a family in general. And even his father's life was probably hard, and that he just felt like where they were was safe. And them going out was maybe a risk of him losing his son or just losing the last bit of hope he had left.
So if you look at it in terms of economics, we having a discussion, me and you, they listening to us, okay? Yeah. So if you look at it in terms of economics, like money, you know what I mean? Like he need his son to help him make money, right? Like I'm getting old, I can't do all this work. I need my son to help me. You walking away from the family, like we trying to eat, bruh. You bugging. You want to go somewhere and like run around and learn words and books, and we trying to till the soil here.
And he could have like felt betrayed. Like it's the fact that his son was almost thinking bigger than his mindset, and and that it's his appearance. So he probably was afraid. You know, it's all of those emotions that come with your kids making bigger moves than that you made.
That's right.
So it comes down to his father thinking of that, but then also that means that his father had to set aside all that he worked up to pass it down, and then my son don't want it. Like, I did all this work and you don't want it.
He don't want it. He bugging. No, really. Let's go around. Let's feed. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Give me some love. There you go. Come on.
Hi, my name is Atola Tayo, and I'm from Central High School. And I feel like I take the standing point that both, the people who did migrate to the north were in the right, but I have an issue with the people that do stay in the south. Like, I feel like they could have done way more than what they did, even though I understand that times were rough. Like, building yourself and being black in the south was very hard for people. But I feel like with Booker T. Washington's idea of building yourself in the south, building education, getting a trade, it's very important to get those businesses in the south, because all the cities in the north are the only things that are prospering in the country. If you had cities in the south, things like the Great Depression wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have had a stock market crash so heavily that would impact the country. So I feel like an evenly distributed amount of urban cities in the south, not only in the south, even in the west, throughout the country should benefit the entire country, because you leaving the south just to go to the north is only affecting the north. It's only benefiting the north actually. So I feel like if everything was evenly distributed, people putting in the amount of work to benefit the south, everything would have been fine in terms of economics, even political structure. So
that's a good point, because in 1860, about 3/4 of the American economy was based on cotton production. Right? So when all of those people left the South, it actually affected the economy in the South, the planters' economy in the South, and the American economy changed because of that. So you're making a very salient point.
To add on to what you just said, I'm in an AP US history class, so
there you go.
There's some documents that we went through a couple of weeks ago about the South, the economic state of the South, and how wages very fluctuated throughout the years. About how you just said 1860, we read the documents and how there was a dramatic decrease in the wages because of people migrating to the north.
That's right.
And because of the influence of how cotton was the biggest mass reduction of income for America. And yeah, I just want to get that out.
Yeah, good point, brother. Move on. Yep.
I'm more in the middle of the whole Great Migration, because it takes a lot of guts to move to the somewhere you don't completely know, especially back then where there's only newspapers and he say, she say. It's not like now where there's technology that you could see all of these things firsthand. But it also takes guts to stay in that sense of complacent where you're just taking the same things every single day. And I won't say it's like Stockholm Syndrome, but the first slaves, they were kidnapped from Africa, and eventually they learned that if they just listen to what the masters say, their life will go well. And
because of so much years of slavery and it just being passed down from generation to generation, when slavery ended and they were free to go, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how they were going to make their own houses, how they were going to get their own food, find a job, because the South was still racist, and black opportunities for them back then, it wasn't a thing really. And so going to the North and still facing that sense of segregation, because there were a lot of riots as the Great Migration progressed, and then Harlem, the Harlem Renaissance. Before that, Harlem was a majority white city, white neighborhood, you know? So when all these black people came and building their culture, it put a bad taste in these white people's mouths, because it's just like, you were just in the South fighting for yourself, and now you're here making a name for yourself, and you're pushing us out. Like AP History, there's a specific document where, no, it's in the book, actually, where they weren't, the landlords of the tenement houses, they weren't renting to black people until all these people came, and they realized this is how we can make money.
Right.
So, yeah, the sense of...
They didn't push anybody out, they actually left.
Yeah, that too. They left because they're not living around black people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They left Newark too, by the way.
They actually confused Newark with New York City.
Go ahead.
And to add on to understanding Frederick Douglass and his choice for the people to stay, I was thinking that maybe there could be a different approach. The reason why he wanted them to stay, because throughout, like, migration was something common to, like, men. If he approached something like that wasn't suitable for him, like a condition, the primary thing to do is move. But maybe the thought that Frederick Douglass was thinking, like, maybe they can take ownership of actually what's happening and make it better. Like, things they could do, like, to be accountable, they could build themselves up and support each other socially, economically, and in every aspect. So that was what I was thinking when Frederick Douglass wasn't in support of them leaving. And one thing about unity, like, I believe Frederick Douglass was also saying that if they were all going to move and they were not unified, it can break them apart. So unity was another aspect that I saw in one vision.
All right, so my name is Edward. I'm from Marin, and I actually don't side with anyone because it all depends on the wants and needs of African Americans at the time, where people who agreed with Du Bois, they had hopes and dreams, and the only way to accomplish that was to head to the North, get an education, and fight for their rights, even though it wasn't guaranteed. And for Booker T, people who agreed with him, they actually didn't, well, they probably did have hopes and dreams, but they also was worried about their families and wanted to provide for them. And even though they were caught in sharecropping, that was the only way to provide for their families.
Yeah.
I actually side with Du Bois because personally, I think Booker T. Washington's views were unrealistic because I believe Black African Americans at the time couldn't try to climb the ranks in sharecropping because the white people wouldn't let them. If they were out there killing them every day, why would you think they would want them to be on the same level as them at one point in time? And I also believe the Great Migration as a whole is a really wonderful thing because it really changed the whole aspect of the country. It created all of this different African American culture. It was also a product of a lot of amazing people we look up to today, like Michelle Obama and Diana Ross, everyone. So.
Okay, my name is Kiana. I'm from Marion P. Thomas, and I think that they should. I'm sorry with the people who are leaving because they were stuck inside of this caste system that they were trying to get out of, but the white people wouldn't let them. So because their skin color, they couldn't have many opportunities in the South. So I believe that moving to the North would be better for them. But even then, they faced struggles. White people were arresting them and trying to keep them in the South so their economy wouldn't go down.
But I believe that going to the north would be better for them and not have to stick with the same treatment they had to deal with before.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Gracie. Hi again. I'm from Mary P. Thomas Charter High School, and I just want to say I'm with the side that went to the north. So basically, I agree with Du Bois, and I want to say I disagree with almost everything Booker T. Washington stands for. Although the people that stayed in the South, yeah, I think they were very brave. And it was scary, and they stayed. I think, you know, it's a brave thing to do. But Booker T. Washington, he knows that there's this rigid system of social and economic, you know, inequality and stuff. And there's this peonage system, and he wants black people to stay there still and fight for economic independence. But I don't think they can get economic independence with the fact that if they do something wrong, steal 75 cents, they could get lynched, they could go to jail for the rest of their lives, they can never see their family again. I don't think you can strive for economic independence when you aren't even viewed as humans to them. I think that their views, like the way they view you, is important. So if they don't see you as humans, you can't succeed. The only way I think for them that was, the only way I think they could actually succeed and survive was going to the north. So yeah, I support the Great Migration.
My name is Kavina Bowl from Technology High School again. I would like to say that I side with the people that moved north because in order for you to make any kind of change, you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like you can say that, you can be like, oh, but like, you know, the north wasn't that much, you know, better than the south, but it was like a whole lot better than the south. We were not dying every 5 minutes. Of course, there was like segregation and stuff like that, but it was nothing to the extent of like you being hung just because you were looking at someone the wrong way. I believe that, you know, well, Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. You're not going to get a different result doing the same exact thing. So staying in the South, I don't think it was that effective. You're not really, you know, trying to fight for a change. You're like, I'm comfortable here, I'm going to stay here. But if you actually want, you know, most of that stuff that's happening to you to stop, you have to make a big change. You have to reach for it. So going to the north was like making a statement, like, you don't want to treat me right, then I'm going to move, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to stay here. And your economy can crash, and I will go build whatever I want to build up in the north.
My name is Abigail Thermitis. I'm a representative of Technology High School. I do believe that both sides had spirit in, you know, their decision, but I do side with the people who migrated north, mostly because I'm a product of people who did migrate north. I believe that if something doesn't work, like if a system doesn't work for yourself, you have to create a counter. You have to find a way, like to piggyback off of what Kavina said, when you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, you're obviously not going to get a different result. I also wanted to add that in the South, they were already born into like a well-developed, I don't want to say those system words, but a developed system. They were already like, as soon as they were born, a label was put on them. So it's kind of difficult to battle that, and like going around it could kind of help those people who did stay in the South.
Right. You know, it was a lot of people who stayed in the South, right? You know, when we was younger, when you get in trouble, people go down south. And when our summer vacation, because we didn't, I mean, most of us, you couldn't like go to the Caribbean and islands and hang out. They didn't have no money. They wound up in North Carolina for the summer with their grandmama and great-grandmother. They wound up in Mississippi. So them people stayed down there. You know, so I just want y'all to understand, you know, perspective. There's a whole bunch of people who still, and they still in the South now. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
My name is Marcel Clark from American History. I side with the Northerners more than people that stay in the South, because if you think about it, they had better education, better opportunities to expand on a variety of things, you know, in the North. I feel like staying in the South was, you know, unreasonable, and I feel like they was limiting themselves, you know, from doing greater things. I felt like in them going to the North, you know, they could have expanded and did so many different things and then came back to the North and then expanded on what they already learned in the North.
Right.
And I feel like them being in the North was, being in the South was, you know, just, it was unreasonable. I don't really agree with them staying in the South.
I feel you. Anybody else? You want to say something? Come on.
My name is Emily from American History High School, and I'm not on one side in particular, but I can understand both sides, because like Southerners chose to leave the South due to oppression or inequality, but some Southerners also chose to stay in the South because it wasn't guaranteed that they would live a better life in the North as people said they would. It was a risk that some people were not willing to take. Some people were willing to take them, and that's why.
Yep.
My name is Leanne Brito, and I'm also from American History. And I feel like behind each migration is the aspiration to look for better conditions of life.
Right.
And although the North wasn't perfect, it was definitely better than the South, because the South held no humanity for African Americans. And I feel like despite both choices, it doesn't really matter, because African Americans both, whether they stayed in the North or, whether they stayed in the South or whether they came to the North, they all had strength and resilience, because Reconstruction is just as hard as starting from zero.
Yeah. But what about people, and we gotta end, because every time I come here and do this with y'all ruin my entire day. My secretary cusses me out. I have like 15 events I missed because of this. But like, when you come from another country, like your family, comes from another country and decide to come to America for various reasons, education, opportunity, all of those things, you leave people back home. Now, don't the people back home begin to feel some way about the people who came? Right? There's this, isn't there's a difference between the way people see you and the way you see the old country? Like, there's a difference there, right? And what do you think that comes from? Any one of y'all? Anybody?
Can I
want to
answer
jump
that?
on that? Go ahead, you do it.
So me and my family moved from Africa, Congo, to here. And it's like back home, when you come here, as long as you're here, you're seen as rich right away. You're like, it's like
the streets paved with gold.
Right. It's like you have money, you have a nice place, you have cars, you have everything. So it's like when
they don't know you catch the bus, huh?
No. And when they call you to ask for money, it's like if you say, "Oh, I'm gonna work and see if I can send it to you," they'll be like, "Oh, but you're there. You're supposed to have like at least $100 with you." What are you? So it's like you can't necessarily like tell them, "Oh no, I have to like work 8 hours or work 2 shifts or something like." No, they believe that as long as you're here, as long as you're American, or as long as you set your foot here, you are rich. You're like capable. You can give them anything as long as
you're
they
being stingy.
Yeah. So it's like that.
You went to America. Go ahead.
I feel like people that stayed, they kind of I feel that the people who stayed, they feel like the people who left abandoned them. Like they abandoned the beliefs. Like they were supposed to stick together, especially families. Like my dad and my mom were torn because of this. Like my dad wanted to come here for opportunity. My mom believed that they could build a place at home, and it's just like, It's also some internal conflict as well. I believe that that for some people, they're like me. I feel like I'm doing something wrong coming here, like being here, but I'm also like doing it for opportunity, like for myself, like for better opportunity.
I would like to add on to that. I just want to say that there's something called the American dream that people, that come here, they chase for that. So when they see that, like, their family members are going to chase for that dream, they're looking at them like, oh, you're this like God, you got all this money, you got all of that, because that's what they're taught to believe. That's what it's like in America. As soon as you step foot here, you have all these riches. But in reality, it's nothing like that. You have to work hard for that. Yeah. And some people do believe that you should just stay home and build what you have, but it's hard to do that. That's why people are leaving. There's a reason why people are leaving. They're not leaving because they want to. They're leaving because they want to build something, but they don't have that opportunity back home.
So I got to wrap it up. Just want you to think about a few things. America is completely changed because of the Great Migration. And that's why it's important to study this material. I mean, it's important to learn about our history, black history, and how we affected other people's nations and culture and all of this other kind of stuff. But America, the Great Migration changed the course of America. And if there was no migration, and I think one of you said it before, some of you, our lineage of us being here, we wouldn't be here, right? I wouldn't be the mayor, all this other, Newark, all this other kind of stuff wouldn't exist. The creation of the Harlem Renaissance and all of the people we study and read, none of that happens, all of those things, because of the Great Migration. But I do want you to think a little bit about Du Bois and Booker T. And I think that's what I want to close on. I want y'all to think a little bit more about that. I'm going to let you close us out. Booker T, I want you to think a little bit more about Booker T and W.E.B. Du Bois. Seriously. They got a lot of literature that you probably should read, and get a little bit more into that. Booker T actually gave a speech in the South, in Atlanta, saying that we could be as whole as separate as the fingers and as whole as the hand. Saying that it was okay, segregation was okay. I don't like it, it's okay, but we need to be industrious. Like if we work and build and own things, and maybe we own our own farms and open our own banks and stores. And at some point, we did have our own stores, our own banks, our own newspapers, magazines, all of those things, what Booker T was talking about. But Du Bois more was like, we need to fight for civil rights. They can't see us as property. We have to have rights like every other American. We need to be able to go to school. We need to be able to go to college. We need to be able to vote. We need to be all this other kind of stuff. To be Americans, we need to be Americans. And so that fight is a fight we still fighting today. That's still a side that people are picking right now. Maybe one day we'll get to the point to understand that it's really not two different sides, right? And you just figure it out. And you guys will figure it out before I figure it out. So you're smarter than me. Obviously, you could see that when I was your age, I was not thinking about any of these things. I certainly wouldn't have been reading The Warmth of Other Suns. And your articulation of this material is advanced. So close us out now. Go ahead. Tag team.
Hello, again. I would just like to say that the whole book is about doing something different and being not the first, but just being able to do it and learn from your choices. And it's your own choices that make your reality different. It makes you want to do more. It makes you want to be greater. It makes you want to just grab it and never stop. So I feel like as humans, we tend to compare ourselves a lot. And thinking about the South and the North, that's probably what the people in the South were doing. They're like, why do these people think they're better going to the North when they could just stay with us? You know, so it's kind of your own self-choices that make your life what it wants it to be. And that's what I feel like they both did. The North and the Southern people, that's what they did. They chose what was comfortable to them. And I understand of, you know, not being comfortable anymore, making new decisions. But at the end of the day, it's how you see your life coming to an end or just beginning. So I feel like it's just your choices that make your life more meaningful and what you see yourself to be.
Thank you. Thank you, y'all. I appreciate you. Y'all made my day. God bless you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Mayor. You guys are so profound. I just want to thank 3 people. Last, I want to thank Superintendent Leon for his support. Let's give it up for Superintendent Leon. I also want to thank Superintendent Mincy for her support and having her young people here. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to thank Paul Chopin, the head of schools of the Newark Boys Chorus. Again, thanked everyone for such a powerful, powerful event, and thank you.